welcome to everybody watching live and hopefully those watching on YouTube, because hopefully this stream will record for your eternal viewing pleasure. Welcome back to all of our wonderful players for episode 2. Normally, I'm going to always be doing like a previously on the Shrouds of Ventus, but because the episode didn't record, I'm going to sort of do a bit of a lengthier previously on, just to get us back to where we were. Or if you're joining us for the first time, since this will be the first recorded episode, you will be able to know what's happening. So the elevator pitch of the story for where we are up to now goes like this. Our two warring, wow. First mistake, first sentence. There are two continents that have a neutrality pact that has been going on for centuries, and they kind of just stay out of each other's way. One is called Enthis, the other is called Azal. Unfortunately for the northern continent of Enthis, strange creatures sort of emerged out of the oceans and lakes, and no one had any explanation for why they came or what they were, but they sort of just came onto the shores and just consumed things with no discrimination. So because of that, the continent of Enthis fell into hardship and had to cry out for help from the southern continent of Azal, which breaks their neutrality pact. So long story short, Azal sends up some adventurers, but they held on to their best and brightest and only sent some of the more fledgling warriors, some of the not so bright ones, not so hot and flashy ones. And that is where we meet our level 1 party members who are sailing over to help in the effort. So last time they were dropped off in a city called Hokata Bay, where they were greeted by a not so commanding commander named Vance and his sort of right-hand sprite pixie gal named Keely, and they were sort of their contact point in Hokata Bay, the territory, which is one of the 4 legendary harbor towns. So they received a few bits of intel last time. One, there were a strange and sort of evil group that had taken up occupancy in the city and were sort of forcing them to feed them and entertain them, called the Oath. And they had a small encampment towards the north of Hokata Bay, which the party would eventually take on face to face. Before then, they received some other intel. The Mana Communication Towers, otherwise known as the Sending Spires, a little bit of an easier name to call them by, the southern one had gone down, and these spires are pretty much the main means of communication throughout the continent. Of course, there are things like ravens or eagles. Hokata Bay uses what are called great gulls who fly up and down the coasts. You can always send messages that way, but that's a lot slower. These sending spires use mana ley lines to just send messages directly, like cable. So it's a very efficient way, as you can imagine, in the midst of an invasion to get information, especially when the enemy is completely unknown. This particular territory, Hokata Bay, has pretty much zero information. So they asked that you go north and try to repair one of these sending spires. But it's very far north. The party has a map. Some other notable things that happened are spry and tricky cleric Anstis bested a street performer in a magical duel and gave her winnings to a child who had previously lost their winnings. You also saw an interesting store being fixed that didn't look like any of the other establishments in Hokata Bay. Sort of this pristine white ivory building, which Morella, through knowing Sylvan, was able to identify as the Soot and Saber, which you learned was the sort of trade goods store that's sort of taken over in every major city, just sort of putting them out of business, putting the little trade outlets out of business. It was currently closed, and you weren't able to access it yet. It was
Magical Walmart.
Yeah, magical Walmart. You weren't able to access it yet, though, but you did see it being repaired by two large ivory men in like giant ivory armor. Additionally, you let's see what else. Additionally, well, some other stuff. I'll do a recap that's going to go up on the YouTube channel. That's more official, so you can have a better idea of what went down in the first episode. But we are going to pick back up right now from where we left off, which was the party threw a hail of arrows and spells and punches to the face, and a lot of arrows into the commander who came with them, Vance, who was totally ill prepared for the battle. But they kept him alive. They pulled through. No casualties. It was a great battle.
What was his name? Vance?
Yes, Commander Vance. And they were put up in a sort of dilapidated, half-destroyed inn where they spent the night hoping to wake up and venture north into the mainland to discover what's going on with these creatures, to try to fix these sending towers, allowing some communication to happen, and hopefully have some fun, make some gold, all that good stuff along the way. So the sun rises once again. Another beautiful Hokata Bay morning. The water is sparkling. With the party's help, the repairs have accelerated. There are these large fishing cranes that are sort of the staple of Hokata Bay. They're just mammoth cranes that stick up over the coast and sort of haul in crabs. And most of those are back up, full working order. And you all kind of come down to meet up in the main area of the tavern, which has no roof. And you are, you see two people waiting for you, sort of off out, not trying to interrupt too much, but there are two figures that doesn't seem like you've seen before that are waiting for you. You can't really make them out yet, but the party does come down and reconvene.
And we see eyes staring at us. Well, are we ready then? Shall we search out Captain Keeley and try to find her wayward scouts?
Sounds good to me. How'd y'all sleep?
Fine, thank you. And you?
You know, they don't make beds big enough for me, but I can curl up.
Oh.
I have that problem, except the opposite.
One of the two figures comes scurrying over towards you, and as he comes near, you didn't recognize him at first because he has clothes on and he's not screaming in pain, but you recognize him as one of the Triton prisoners who was at the Oath camp. If you recall, there were two Oath soldiers who were had him pretty much stripped of his clothing and were branding him and singeing him with fire pokers. Probably not a great time for this guy. You can see like a couple, he has like a full proper Hokata Bay gear on, which is kind of this flat pearly white armor. You can see a couple of scars and burns, like there's like, he smells like ointment. He's probably had a rough night of sleep. But he's smiling and he has a big bundle, and as he gets closer, you can smell it. It's this big bundle of bread, and he says, "Thank you so much once again. I know you're heading out, but I thought you might like some breakfast." And it's this big bundle of bread. It's like this cranberry sweet bread, and he gives everybody a loaf to either eat now, hold on to, but you be well fed. He turns out to be a very a baker of repute in Hokata Bay.
Thank you, that's very kind of you.
Thank you so much.
Of course. I hope you enjoy it. It's the least I could do. As you head out, make sure you talk to Zosa. And he gestures to the other figure who is waiting. Who's waiting there, kind of in the far. She has a very noticeable silhouette, which I will describe momentarily. He says, "Make sure you speak to Zosa. Enjoy the breads and thank you once again." And he sort of bows and hustles off, and you see like his wife and 2 kids. He sort of scoops them up and they sort of walk off. You exit the sort of main area of the dilapidated tavern, and you approach the figure. And as you get closer, it's sort of classic misty morning for an ocean town, and you realize that as you're getting closer, she's not getting closer and closer to your size. This is a rather large figure, massive horns, sort of a bovine face, hairy arms, but with a really lovely floral printed dress on with like different shells embroidered into it. And she's standing there with a large wooden box, sort of awaiting your arrival.
Do we recognize this race?
Yeah, you do. This is a Minotaur.
Okay.
In this universe, Minotaurs are not really to be feared. I mean, unless they're a bad guy, but they're out walking around, hanging out. Usually, they don't mix in too well with like regular places, just because of simple things like doors and beds and like stable floors. They're pretty massive, but even putting your Ornek bird friend to have to lift his neck up.
Oh my.
So she is standing there waiting your arrival, and she has a warm look on her face, and she's sort of hailing you.
Hello there. The man before told us to speak to you. Can you make it quick? We have somewhere to be.
I will make it very quick. I only bring you this box because High Chief Keeley told me to give this to you. I also wanted to give you this. And she hands you a folded up piece of paper. She hands it to Morella.
Oh, okay.
You open it up, and it's a wanted post. It's a missing poster of a similar looking Minotaur man. And she says, the party that you are to seek, my husband is a part of it. Please find him if you can. The party will be on the way to where you're already going. She kneels down and places the box at your feet and sort of nods and just like humbly walks off. You get the sense that because of her size, she was told to give the box to you. It's rather big.
Oh, okay.
We don't know where Kylie. Oh, okay.
And I just like, yeah.
Is it like sealed shut?
No, it's just like a plain box. It's not decorative or anything.
Box?
Yeah.
It's just like a little wooden box that could be opened easily.
Okay.
If no one's going to offer to open it, I'll open
Yeah, I
it.
was gonna say.
Just leave it.
Just walk away from
Well, that was weird, guys. Let's go.
Okay, well, Kelm's gonna open it.
Oh.
So
Okay.
he opens the box. He lifts out a big bundle of leather. He sort of does the thing where like someone pushes a backpack into someone's chest to Kinsel. Says, "Here you go." He does another little bundle. It's like a teeny little leather sack, and he throws it over to Anstis and says,
Ugh.
"This one looks like it's just for you." And then the last thing he pulls out is like a very official-looking scroll that has the seal of Hokata Bay on it, and very nice-looking paper. He sort of just, with no regard, just sort of like rips open the letter to look at it. And sure enough, this letter is from Keeley.
Ah.
And it says as follows. Response Unit 3. I've been called upon to head up coast and assist the commander with a small group of fishermen who are currently feuding. As you witnessed, the commander and I's combat skills are less than ideal. Sailing is much more of a strong suit for us, and I doubt you'll need us further. As you'll recall, I recommended you all head north, help restore the Great Southern Sending Spire, the mana communication tower. I'd also ask that you make contact with our scouting party, who is heading due north to investigate the creatures at Listener's Lake, a hotbed of creature activity, we are told. I've left a great goal with Zosa that you can take with you. When you make contact with the scouts, please send the goal back to Hokata Bay with any information. It knows the way. Your assistance has been invaluable. I've no doubt that you will all be instrumental in the salvation of our great continent. Best of luck, High Chief Keely of Heart.
It's a what that she gave us to send back now?
As you wonder that, you hear and a massive seagull flies down and lands on top of the open box. And it's waiting there. It's standing there, awaiting orders and/or transport.
Eagle just talk. Talk.
Does the bird talk?
Did it say hello or did it just caw?
It just went.
Okay, it sounded like hello.
Do you speak bird?
No.
I like to think I do. It said hello. No, just kidding.
So that's this scroll that Kelm ripped open. Would you like to do anything with the other parcels you've been given, or just deal with those later?
Yes. What is it?
Are you gonna open it?
Yes.
Okay. Anstis opens the little leather pouch, and inside, very simply, is a glowing blue marble, very familiar to you, and a note which says, "May the great game of our cause continue for you, my darling. Hold on to this and promise to grant me a rematch upon your return. Jolan the Powerful." So you have one mana marble.
Wait, what did Anstis do to? What did you beat him in? What did you do?
It's a game called Arkaze, or mana marbles is the street term. Basically,
Yeah.
it's like two people like force push. There's like a special marble that sits on like a table, and you have to kind of mental power
Just
it,
like
and
duel
whoever
it
can
out.
push it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a pretty simple little game of magical
What does
strength.
the marble do?
It's just a marble that is receptive to magic, like simple magical pressure. So it's like the only way you can play the game.
Okay.
So it's not like a powerful item that like kids have them, but it is something you need to play the game.
Okay.
Fun.
So you can play it anytime you want now.
Well, I'm going to put it in one of my many pockets.
Is it 100?
100 pockets.
100 pockets.
Wait, what?
I have
dear.
a vest with 100 pockets.
Oh, wow, that's a lot.
Okay. Kinsel, you have a large bundle in your arms.
I will take a peek at what I'm holding.
Okay. Here's what you've got. A note that has seemingly almost childlike handwriting. Says the following. "Thanks for saving my scales. I've no doubt I'll see you again. Until then, I'll be practicing my bow and arrow skills. Hopefully someday you'll see me in my element. In the meantime, I've assembled a care package with some of Hokata Bay's best exports. Careful with the candies, though. They're not for everyone. Vance Lodok." And written above his handwriting in Keely's handwriting is Commander.
Oh.
And inside of Vance's care package is a bag that says fish candies, and it is a bag full of fishy candy. A cloudy but full bottle of spiced rum, straight from Iganaska, which is a different place. A bundle of dried fish, and an elixir of Hokata Bay, which can heal poison.
Okay.
If you recall, the the famous crab from Hokata Bay is kind of this poisonous crab that needs to be cut in a very particular way. So they use this elixir to deal with people whose butchering skills weren't quite up to snuff.
Uh-oh.
Accidentally poisoned themselves. So you've got that. And that's that.
And
You
we
now
got
stand with an empty box. The 4 party members ready to advance.
Was
All
there
right.
any more information on the missing persons flyer?
Yeah, like a name?
Let's see what her husband's name is. Her husband's name is Mursk. You know that he's a part of the scouting party who headed north. So if you have your maps ready, they pretty much headed due north to Listener's Lake, which you guys right now are on like the northern tip of Hokata Bay, like practically on the tree line. You basically have to cross through the Feather Fawn Forest to get there.
Okay.
But also the sending tower that you're supposed to go to, you can either kind of go this side or this side of the lake, but you won't have to make that choice just yet. So you see a couple of different things. You see just sort of a break in the forest where the Oath guys presumably came from. You're kind of near where they had their tent set up. So you could go into the forest that way. That's pretty much the most direct way to get to the lake. But you also see way down east, you see a group of carts coming back from an actual like trail. But they're way down, and that trail goes up the coast, so it doesn't really lead to the lake. But it is a trade route that they use.
As we're kind of sitting here judging which way to go, I will just say,
let's not forget the Oaths claim to have allies somewhere. We might run into them. We should be careful.
I don't doubt they're all over the forest. If they sent just a few here to make camp, maybe they'll send more. Should definitely keep an eye.
Better safe
Oh,
than
should-
sorry.
Should we head through the forest or along the trail?
Morella, are you one of them archers that knows their way through the woods real good?
More or less. It's a terrain that I'm familiar with.
Well, then I say we head straight to the lake.
Fair.
I agree.
Okay, so packs are on. Notes are read. Things are stashed up, and everyone's got their boots pulled on. And you begin heading through a sparser area of trees into sort of sparse entry kind of area to the Feather Fawn Wood. Ahead of you, you see it's very the tree line kind of just goes straight up. So the part you're at is pretty low. You can see through it really easily. When you turn around, you can still see Hokata Bay behind you, but you're coming upon a much thicker part of the forest, which seems to be sort of the beginning of the wood proper. And as you look around you before entering the wood, you see something unnatural that doesn't belong in this part of the woods. And it's a small sort of slapdash tent just kind of plopped on the side of there's sort of just like a rugged walking path that you're on, and just sort of a little tent. There's not much there, just like some random sticks laying together and like a sheet just like draped over it sort of haphazardly. Probably about 100 feet from you.
I suggest that maybe some of the sneakier members of this party approach to examine the tent. Not necessarily something bad. Could just be a wary traveler. We don't know.
Sounds good to me. Kelm stands at the ready.
I will stay back with Kelm. I believe that after our last soiree with moving slowly, I'd rather not risk it.
Does Anstis wear heavy armor?
I do, but I can give myself advantage, which cancels out the disadvantage, so I just be rolling normally.
Fair. Would you like to accompany me, Anstis?
Yeah, I'll go with you.
Sure.
Okay, sure. Roll stealth checks.
Oh boy. Which dice? Which dice? Oh no. Okay.
So I am using my blessings of the trickster to take away my disadvantage.
Okay.
Is that your quirk, Marie?
No, it's part of my cleric domain thing.
Sweet.
Trickster.
Okay, not bad. Got an 18.
Okay.
25.
Oh, shit.
Okay. So, for a second, Morella, you're like, I'm a badass.
No.
But then you lose track of Anstis for a second. You're like, what the? But eventually you guys both kind of creep together up to the tent. And like, as you're nearing it, it's one of those things where you can you see more and more and more behind it of what's inside. Because it's just this plain A-frame tent. First thing you see is just two teeny little feet. And inside, a small, bald gnome with the white beard and mustache, just sleeping, hasn't sensed you at all.
Does it look like it was part of the oath?
Nope. He's got some just plain robes on. Pete, do you want to describe your character for us?
Yeah. So he is a little gnome, pretty young as far as gnome ages go. He's 28. Very pale skin, kind of a broader nose. He wears little focals, like bifocals, that go towards the lower part of his nose. Bald, but like he's clearly been shaving his head. Like he's not naturally bald. He's too young for that, and he's pretty beaten up right now. It looks like he's not sleeping comfortably. This wasn't like a little cozy place that he cozied up to sleep. He looks pretty bruised and kind of scraped up. As far as what he's wearing, he's got some rips and some kind of tatteredness to the robe that he has. It's kind of like a cape, but from what you guys can probably see, he's not like armored, or he doesn't appear to have weapons on him or anything like that.
I look at Anstis like, what do we do?
I pick up a stick off the ground and like mime throwing it at him and like look at her. Like
okay. I pick up a stick and I just sort of toss
start
it at him.
throwing sticks.
I toss it at him.
Okay.
I don't know.
Roll for damage.
What am I rolling?
For damage, and I'm just kidding.
No.
Oh god.
I hope a stick doesn't hurt you.
Oh no.
Okay. You've been stick thrown.
Okay. I'm assuming I wake up.
Yeah.
I'll wake up and go, "Who's there? Who's there?" And then I'll poke my head around and say, "Oh, greetings! You startled me."
Hello. What are you doing out here?
Well, I'm sorry. I'm a little tired. What a night I just went through. You see, I was part of Response Unit 2, and things got a little out of control last night, and, well, the unit that I was with, they're all gone. They're all dead now. And so, I heard of this unit here, and I thought I would leave and try and find you guys. Are you Unit 3? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, we're
Yes, we
Unit
are.
3.
Oh, thank goodness. You guys definitely look like better fighters than what I was used to. The group I got dropped off with, well, not too many good fighters, but boy, I got lucky. I managed to escape in the night.
What exactly attacked you? What? Well, I mean, I suppose that's what we're here for, but what was it? What happened?
Well, it was an ambush. We didn't see any soldiers. We didn't see anybody part of the Oath. But the whole time we were in the woods, we felt like we were being watched. We were going north to Listener's Lake to do some research to see what was going on there. But all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, this winged, spiked creature came out and started just ravening us. And we didn't know what was going on. I barely escaped with my life. And I didn't get a good look at it. It was so dark and I was so afraid.
That's extremely unfortunate.
It was? What's your name?
I'm Morella. Pleasure to meet you.
Marilla? My name's Tink.
Nice to meet you, Tink.
Well, do you guys care if I come along? I'm all alone. I'm not much for fighting, but I've got some tricks up my sleeve.
That should be fine, because we lost a party member. He kind of abandoned us and was a jerk.
Oh, well, I'm no jerk, I assure you. And your name, please?
Anstis.
Anstis.
Nice to meet you.
Greetings. Friends now, I suppose.
Calm
the
sort
rest
of nudges Kinsel and he's like, think they're gonna start fighting yet?
So what are you guys doing? What's the plan?
We're heading up to Listener's Lake ourselves. There's a southern sending spire that's down, and Captain Keeley wanted us to take a look at it.
Very good. Well, have you guys had any adventures yourself? What things have you run into so far?
Well, we took down a couple members of the Oath that were kind of holding Okada Bay hostage.
Hostage?
Yeah.
Sounds horrible. What did they look like?
Yeah.
What were they wearing? The Oath.
There was a dragonborn, a couple of humans who they had odd. It was feathers, right?
Yep, orange feathers,
they
brown
had
and black armor, and
Odd orange feathers. Yes, brown and black armor.
Wow. Well, great work taking them out. Were they pretty formidable?
Well, yeah. They said that there were more of them and that they had sent for backup, so we're on the lookout. Make sure that Okada Bay doesn't, get attacked.
Well, sure. What about the two over there? They don't look quite as friendly as you two.
Oh, apologies. We decided to sneak up on you. We weren't sure if maybe you might have been a member of the Oath, so we were trying to err on the side of caution. Those are our other party members.
Okay. Well, I assure you I'm no part of the Oath.
I wave Kelm and Kinsel over. Like, yeah, this is good. We're good.
uh-oh. I think we lost Ryan's audio.
Can't hear Ryan.
No.
My bad. That's
Okay.
fine. I suppose it's all right then. We can approach. If I can butt in though for a moment, it twitches down.
What?
No, it's not. Is it?
Is it?
It
No,
might
it
be
looks
a
like it's still
I don't
going.
see it down.
Oh, okay. Might be a localized thing then. My brother messaged me. He's like, "Dude, your game crashed again." Oh, it's back up apparently.
No.
Twitch, get your shit together.
Ask the chat room.
Good, we're good. It's back up. It looks like.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, Kinsel and Kelm will join the rest. Kelm will go to a full 90 degrees bend over to look down at Tink and say, "Hello there, friend. What do you call yourself?"
Hello. The name's Tink. And you?
Kasago Kelm, at your service. He gives you a salute. Says,
How tall is he?
he's 7 feet high.
Oh God. Wait,
Is it
we can
big?
do the two short people in a trench coat.
Yeah.
Good.
I think I'm the next shortest after you two.
Maybe.
Sorry,
Probably.
Meta, is this the DMPC?
Yep, Kelm. He's an Ornek. He's a giant. It's like what Goliaths are to humans, like size and strength wise. Orneks are to Aarakocra, except they're too big to fly.
But he has wings.
He has like his fingers are like feathers, so he has like kind of arm wings.
Does he look pretty intimidating?
Not really. He looks pretty warm and friendly. He has like a
Fluffy?
leather hat on. Yeah, he's kind of fluffy and he looks like a warm guy.
Just a nice big bird.
Now I
Exactly.
just have this deep need of a drawing of Kelm, like after he's gotten wet and was like dried off, and it's just like poof, nothing but fluff. This is what I want.
Well, Callum, it's good to meet you. And you over there. Your name?
Yes, I'm Kinsul. Yours was Tink, I gather?
Tink Finn. That's the name.
Finn. Are you alright, Tink? You look a little in duress.
I've been better, that's for sure. And surprisingly enough, my spirits are okay now that I've seen you guys. I was scared alone. But fared better than the party I was with yesterday, so...
I see.
He said you got attacked by a winged creature. Is that right?
Yeah, wings, spikes. It was loud, but it was dark. It was just chaotic.
Anstis, you have a drawing of one of the creatures from the water. Maybe he can see whether that was one of them. You don't have it, but you could show it to him and I can just tell you whether or not.
Yeah. Tell me what it looks like. What do I see?
So this was a drawing given to you by a kid, and a frightened kid at that. So it's very hastily drawn in sort of just like scratchy charcoal, but it looks almost like a wolf with no ears. So it's like a long snout and the arms are really long. So like imagine like a dog on all fours, but up higher and the arms are like long, like a gorilla, how like a gorilla stands. And it's just like scribbly and black and very, looks like the drawing like a kid in a horror movie would show his parents. They'd be like, oh my God, our son's possessed.
You said he looks like a wolf on two legs? That's what you said?
It's on all fours, but its front legs are really long. Here, maybe I should just scratch it out.
Kind of like the things from Attack the Block.
I haven't seen that. I want to see it, but I don't know. But by and large, it's not a particularly helpful drawing. It's very scratchy, but it's very like there's a lot of rage to it, and it's definitely black.
Well, I don't know that I can make out much from that.
There
But
are
I-
no wings and no spikes.
Okay, well, I guess I can
I
could
do
see
some
that.
kind of check to see if maybe I know what creature it is. I mean, on the off chance.
Sure.
What check do you think that would be? Nature or Arcana?
yeah.
Or
Yeah, make a nature check.
nature. Oh, 20.
A natural 20?
No, unnatural 20. 19 plus 1.
Oh. Whew. It's gonna have to tell you everything.
Oh,
You are very, very sure that you don't know what this creature is. It looks very unnatural, but you do get a sense that of all the creatures that sort of flash to your mind, it doesn't
which
call.
creature am I checking? Am I checking the drawing or am I checking the winged spiked creature?
Which one did you? Well, he doesn't have a drawing of the spiked creature, so I'm assuming you're
No.
looking at the drawing.
No, I was talking about the winged spiked creature. Just on the
Oh, the
off
winged
chance
spiked
that-
creature. Oh,
Yeah.
like maybe
yeah.
it's native to that
Um,
area, or
Well, I didn't know. I just
yes,
figured
yes.
maybe
This creature,
I know.
this creature you may know about.
Okay.
There are creatures known as devils that on Enthis are known to stalk around in forests. They're loners, and they sort of just fend for themselves and hunt for sport. That's the closest. That's the closest description that you can get from it. Not necessarily, oh, that's what this is, but that's what it sounds like to you.
All right. It sounds like you were perhaps attacked by a devil.
Perhaps. I've not heard of that before. There is something else that's worth mentioning, too. From the ground, there were spikes. Almost like thorns. Slowly coming out of the ground as we moved through the wood. It wasn't coming at us fast, or they didn't necessarily grab us, but they were slowly moving at us. And we felt like we were being watched the whole time.
I look around. Is there any spikes around us?
No, there's no spikes
I
around.
think vines was probably a better word to use.
Okay.
Vines?
Yeah, not so much spikes like vines. It's like natural growth, like plant.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not really in the forest yet. Tink is like right on the edge of where it starts to sort of spread out a little bit. So you're just about to
Gotcha.
enter like the thick of things.
Gotcha.
I don't know if you've heard of that before, but it's not anything I'd seen. It's like slow growing plants. Easy to avoid, though.
As in you could see them growing as you walked.
Yeah, coming out of the ground.
That's very odd.
I don't know about y'all, but it's about 3 days travel to the lake, and I think if we're heading into the forest, we better cover some ground, find a place to camp before who knows what's out there comes at night.
Agree. We should get going.
Fair, yes.
All right. What time of the day is it?
It is coming up on noon.
Although, Tink, you look a little rough. Do you maybe need medical attention?
Ah,
Or is it worse than it look? Like, does it look worse than it is?
well, let's just say I recovered over the night, but I could use some coffee or perhaps something a little bit harder.
Can I give him half a loaf of bread?
Yeah.
That'd be delicious.
I'll do that.
Well, thanks, Kinzel. This looks great.
And
problem.
Calm, having a swig of his own from the rum, is going to hand that over to you.
I knew you'd be the one, Kel. I knew it.
Hey,
It's
hey,
written
you
all
gotta
over my
share.
face.
You gotta share. Put it over.
Are we passing it around now? It's barely noon.
Jeez, what's wrong with you guys? He,
Day drinking!
he winks at Amstis and hands it over to her.
Yeah.
Just gonna
take a
pass the bottle
swig.
around.
Here you go, Mira.
Alright, there we go. I take a swig. And not to cancel.
Just like Sprite with spirit, Tink leads the way.
I will smell it. This is not for me. Thank you, though. And kind of just recap the bottle, pass it back to Kel.
You don't mean to tell me that you don't want to imbibe when we're about to go into a deep, dark, dangerous forest now, do you?
Not before we go into the forest, no. After, maybe.
Okay, so cork in the bottle and a new member added. The party begins to walk into a deeper and darker part of the forest, which is a much longer part of the forest than what you've been in. Instantly, when you get in, the sunlight is blocked out quite a bit. Not totally, but it's definitely hampered down, and the landscape takes on this sort of grayish, purplish hue. The trees are very low, lurching, like kind of like weeping willows with like puffier leaves. So you could like reach up and like smash the leaves or pluck them or whatever. And there's little, even though it's in the middle of the day, there are tons of these little like glowy firefly things just kind of hovering in place. It's pretty beautiful, but it's also dark, and it's not too long before, as you're walking, you start to see exactly what Tink described. And it's just these sort of little vines just slowly moving, not reaching out to grab you or slash you or anything like that, but definitely not something you want to step on. But you're able to easily sort of walk past them, but they do look kind of spiky.
Is there any chance I could like grab a stick from a tree or something and kind of try to put it next to one of them just to see if it responds to that? Or
Sure.
yeah, I do that.
So you just want to lie it next to the thing?
Well, I want to like poke one of the vines. I want to poke it and just see if it like responds to something touching it.
That's
Okay.
what we do today.
Boy.
We throw sticks and we poke things.
Thing to do.
It's the new solution to all of our party's problems, stick poking.
Have you poked it with a stick yet?
Can I say a 10-foot pole?
You give it a little stick poke, and it does spring to action rather quickly as it sort of just sort of coils around the stick, just sort of tightly holding it. And you
Okay.
sort of, I don't know, do you hold on to the stick?
No, I'll drop it immediately. Kind of take a couple steps back. Curious. Yes, we should avoid those.
It holds onto the
I agree.
stick. It doesn't let go.
All right.
So you continue walking. The trees are beautiful. You can hear here and there some sort of flushing waters off to the sides. There's trees pretty much just everywhere. It's the kind of place where you could very easily get lost, which
We can't get
lost.
Ranger!
So you're walking, and it looks like the kind of place that you could get easily lost. And as you're walking, only Morella notices something, which comes from her experience with forest landscapes. You all feel a sort of sense of dread, again, just like Tink said, that you're being watched. But as the hour sort of approaches evening, Morella notices a figure actually moving along with the party far off, sort of hiding behind trees, and you can see like little purple glowing eyes. Looks tall, and it's hard to see exactly what it looks like, but it's definitely sort of tracking along with the group.
I hold up my hand to stop the party. And then I put my finger up to my lips and I look in that direction. Did it stop with us, or is it still moving?
It's no longer visible to you. It seems it would have hidden behind a tree or something. You can't see the eyes or anything anymore.
I just say very quietly, something is following us.
It's that feeling I had last night. Yesterday during the day, we all felt it.
There's something there, something with purple eyes.
You see something.
I saw something, I don't anymore. I think it stepped behind a tree. It's hidden, but it was
We
there.
do
It was-
something about it?
I don't know. I don't know if it's something hostile, or if it just happens to be a denizen of the forest, and it's curious that there are now strangers traveling throughout. I don't know. But I would say best be on your guard.
Is it dark, Chad? Sorry, I know you just described how it looked, but
It's still broad daylight in terms of what time it is, but it is rather dim
like
because
dim.
of the tree cover and the sort of aura this forest has of just sort of has this dark gray purple vibe to it. This sort of aura that emits, sort of keeping things hazy.
okay.
Well, I would rather find it before it finds us.
Shall we approach it stealthily?
We can attempt.
I don't know.
Okay, everybody.
Try to be stealthy. Get my...
Kelm will stay put. I mean, you're not really on a track, so you're kind of
Kelm
just
will
going.
stay- My fear is we split up by chasing something into the woods and a person or two stays behind and then we get lost from each other.
I don't say that we should chase it necessarily. Try and sneak up on it. If it runs off, we won't chase it unless all of us are there following. I don't like the idea of splitting our group. I don't know how well versed in the woods you all are. I would prefer to be with you all in case you did get lost.
Where I come from, little shrubs about the most wooded areas I go through.
These woods are quite dense. Perhaps let us know when you see it again and we can alter our path to go in its direction.
I'll let you know. I'll keep an eye out.
So I assume we will continue moving north towards our goal, but if we see this creature again, we will move towards it. If I can also keep an eye out, that would be awesome.
Okay. So the movement continues, and you are taking kind of, though you're not on a path, you are taking sort of the best route through these sort of little vines on the ground, keeping you on a pretty safe route. Where, keep in mind, if you were to veer off of these best paths that Morella is sort of giving, you might find yourself in a thicker patch of these things. So the walking continues on. The sun gets lower, gets yet darker in the forest. And Morella and Kinsel both now see on either side. Morella, now that you've seen it once, you have more information. As the party's walking, they're actually like merging into the trees and out and in and out so they're not actually hiding behind the trees. They're actually kind of like becoming one of the trees, and then they're literally walking through the trees.
They are the trees.
You see kind of wooden complexion with purple eyes and sort of a Groot-like haircut.
Could I do some kind of check to know if Morella knows what this is? What is that? Nature?
Yeah, you could do a nature check.
I don't know.
And I can't see anything at all. Like, I see the eyes, that's it.
Yeah, you don't see even the eyes.
What is my nature score? Oh, it's +1. 15. Meh.
You get the idea that based on the look, it's some kind of native creature. It looks very similar to the trees themselves, with this deep wood color. The face, though, does look rather gentle. Best you can tell.
You said they have bark-like skin?
Yep. I mean, bark-like would even be, they have bark skin. Bark foreskin.
Would Morella know if these are some kind of branch of dryad, or would she not know?
Well, you know what a dryad is.
I know, that's why I'm asking, would she know? Because I know. I don't know if she would know.
You don't know yet. You don't know what a dryad is yet.
Okay, cool. We'll keep in mind. But they look non-threatening, and they've made no approach to us.
Yeah, pretty much. They're keeping their equal distance to you.
Okay.
They haven't moved any closer. Kinsel has now noticed one on the other side of the way you're traveling, just sort of watching you.
I see one.
Oh, okay.
There's another on the other side.
Do they look threatening?
They don't look antagonizing, and they haven't approached us yet. I've never seen something quite like this before. I'm not sure. But I feel like if they had wanted to attack us, they would have done so by now. I could be wrong.
As you're having this conversation, Anstis now notices something. And Tink, you guys, now that you've sat and kind of pointed them out, and they've kind of been on your tail for a while, they're not kind of hiding in the trees anymore. They're kind of looking out from in them. So like half their body, like out of the tree, like Shadow Cat style.
Like a kid with their face pressed up against the glass.
Anstis notices, because they're kind of surrounding you to the sides, but very far away. you notice one of these tall, lanky, tree-like creatures has two others kind of at their feet, littler ones that are sort of clinging to its legs with the same sort of purple eyes, sort of looking on at you.
Oh. Should we try to...
I couldn't hear you. You cut out.
You cut out.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Should we try to talk to them, guys?
I don't see why not. If they're native to this forest, it would be good at least to let them know that we mean them no harm and simply wish to pass through.
Sure.
Can I just raise a hand? Like,
Mhm.
like Pocahontas, like, oh. Yeah.
So you wave a hand to one of them.
I just wave.
So the one that's the closest to you, probably the first one you noticed as you were walking, sort of raises a hand in return, and with like a long finger points, not straight ahead of where you're going, but a little bit askew of that.
Okay.
And where this creature points to, you see two more pairs of eyes light up, and then two more beyond it, yet further, and then two more beyond it, yet further, and then two more beyond it, yet further. Just sort of trail of lit up eyes sort of leading you on a path that you had not considered taking.
Can I roll an insight check? I don't know.
What's the insight on, or like, what do you want to figure out?
Is this malevolent in any way? Like,
Is it a trap?
Or are they saying, hey, you seem to know the forest pretty well, let us help you? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Sure, go ahead.
Come on. With my... Oh, actually, I'm good at insight.
Doomed.
Natural 20!
Hey.
Which is a total of 24.
About all right.
24.
Okay. Your elfin ears perk up, and as these lights sort of flicker on, say you hear one of the kids who's talking, or one of the shorter of the creatures, who's speaking a little bit too loudly to his mother, maybe.
Mhm.
And in Sylvan, which you understand, right?
Yes, I do.
Sweet.
Says, they're going the wrong way, right? Tell them where the cabin is.
Can I say, what cabin in Sylvan?
There's no response from the mature ones. You gather the child wasn't supposed to be talking when he was sort of scooped back.
Do
But
I
still you-
gather that
still
this
you
is
have the-
malevolent, though? Or
No,
that they're
no.
trying to help?
No malevolence. The kids sort of blew their ominous way of trying to help you.
And then I give a little wave and I say, I think they're trying to help us. I think we're...
Are you sure? This is kind of creepy.
I think they're trying to help
Kids get hungry too.
Ugh.
I'm
mean, is-
relatively sure.
Oh.
Is it safe to go off in the woods? We saw what those vine things did.
We're already off in the woods. No matter where we go, we'll be off in the woods. This is just another path to take. And perhaps they're leading us along a path that has less of these vines. Perhaps they know what they are. We could maybe ask.
We haven't got long till
They don't
sundown
seem very
either.
talkative.
They said something about a cabin.
A cabin.
Cabin,
Mm.
yes.
Like a murder cabin.
That's really suspicious of you.
I'm a suspicious person, okay?
Cabin sounds nice to me rather than sleeping out here.
Although, yes.
As I just follow the trail of eyes, can I just say in Sylvan, thank you?
Yes, you can. There's no response, but the eyes The sequencing eyes remain lit. And as you take your first steps towards the path of the eyes, you sort of pull a bush back, and you do see a sort of even bigger, clear area where the twisty vines aren't. And it's actually even a safer spot to step than where you were guiding it.
Oh, nice.
Wonderful.
So the party follows the trail of the eyes, and it takes a little while. The sun is nearly gone at this point, and the forest is really, really dark, making the eyes even easier to see. And do we have Ryan?
I don't know. I can't hear him.
I wonder if it's a Zoom thing.
Um,
Can you hear us?
Okay.
can I get a re-invite?
Oh yeah, maybe that'll help.
Now the stream's all goofy.
Yeah, that's always one of the problems with that. Well, we'll take our break here. I think that would be a good time.
All right.
So Pete, if you just want to, actually, maybe we should just stop streaming for a little bit for those watching. We'll be back in like 5 minutes. Get our technical stuff sorted out and figure out where these magical lights are leading us.
Yeah.
Some reason bugged out. Whatever.
Okay, so a couple minute break,
Sure.
and then we'll pick back up. Got a lot of ground to cover.
Yay.
All right.
I'm gonna go fill up my water bottle.
Figure what the...
That's a good thing. It's fun. And it's a lot more optimistic, I promise you.
I like the outlook on it. Pete, did the recall screw up the slicing too badly?
I don't know. Let's take a look.
Ow! Just put all my weight on my hair.
We are back on here, just so you
I
know.
know that feeling.
Hey, Mom.
Weird. It just flopped.
Yeah, I think...
Emmy and Marie.
All right, well, if you just want to screwball those back around, we will get back into it. Welcome back to the adventure.
I get to be the ranger.
Yay.
Our heroes have begun following a trail of mysterious purple eyes in the forest, which they were told would lead them to a cabin. Or so they think.
Fingers crossed that I'm not leading us into a death trap. Hooray!
The pathway is rather clear compared to what you've been on so far, which was pretty clear, thanks to Morella's navigation. But following these eyes seems yet clearer. And it does take you, after about an hour, it does take you to a bit of an outcrop and clearing in the trees and a small hill going upward. And in the distance, you see just a dull, dim light as if coming through a window. You can't really make out anything else, but it does seem to be some kind of building up ahead on a little hill. You're startled, though. Everybody is, as the great gull who I think Kelm had. I'm just going to say that he had him.
That's about right.
Sort of shrieks and sort of points its beak at the glowing window.
There's a glowing window now?
It's like a
there's
dull,
a light on
it's like a
inside.
dull light. Yeah.
Okay. For some
Probably
reason,
not like a light on inside. It's like you guys have all seen houses at night that are lit by candle. It's probably a lot less than that.
Does it look murdery?
Outside, there's a guy standing with a bloody dagger, and he's like, "Come to me."
Start casting spells.
That's not real. It's hard to tell. You can't really see it. There's not a lot of light. The moon is not shining bright, and it's gotten quite dark.
Do we see just one entrance? Do we see an entrance, like a door?
You're still a little bit too far off. You just see kind of a hill, a little window, and the trees kind of clearing, and some of those spiky vines are sort of falling off a bit.
Are any of the eyes still around?
Nope, you've passed the last one.
Okay.
But they are still around, trailing backwards the way you came, just in case.
It's a patient. The approach then. This was the cabin they were speaking about.
Must be.
Well, we took care of those Oath guys before. I don't see why we can't clobber a few others if there's any trouble in there.
Well, here's hoping there's no trouble and we can actually rest for the night. Although, I feel like maybe that's an optimistic outlook. Oh well. We won't get anything done just by standing around here.
Yeah, we can still take watches.
A
inside the
good
cabin.
idea. Yes, I think a good idea.
I can stand watch.
Should we approach?
Okay.
All right.
So you begin to walk towards what you think is a cabin, the dull glowing window. And as you approach, the form does come into view. It's a small little cottage house, probably just one room, large, little chimney, sort of matted roof. And you do see a door just right at the top of the hill. But in front of the door, kind of on the stoop, kind of on a wooden stoop, you see a dead great gull, same as the one you have. And its neck is just unnaturally snapped, and it's just lying there in a little pool of blood. And the door is just a little bit ajar, and that same kind of dull glow is coming from the door.
Can we tell what killed the gull?
You can tell it had its neck broken, or its whole body just crushed or something. Some kind of a squishing force. So it seems.
I perception check around to see if there's anything afoot.
You sure you want to walk around? Or do you just want to look? You're like at the front of the house.
I just want to look around.
Can I just do a check to see if there are any like traps on the door?
Sure, how do you want to check it? Because it is already ajar, so touching it might even just...
Just by eyesight?
Sure.
Like, do I
make an
see any
investigation
visible?
check.
Okay.
We hear anything?
I got a natural one.
Are you serious?
No.
Door.
You don't hear anything. But Tink goes to see if there's any traps, and he sort of steps onto one of the gull's feathers, which are scattered around, and his boot sort of slips, and he goes to brace himself on the door that's ajar, and it just kind of goes, and it just kind of bashes open and goes. And inside you see a tall candle, probably that was once 4 feet high, just has burned down, just a big pool of wax, and it's just like kind of dwindling. That's where you're seeing this dull light come from. A fireplace with a few embers is also there, just sort of dwindling out as well. And sprawled out on the floor is a woman, just like looking straight up to the ceiling with her eyes wide open. Her skin is like purple, not naturally. She's a human. But her skin is purple and veiny. There's just like white bile coming out of her mouth, and you recognize her garb. She's orange feathers, the orange and black armor, and she did.
It is a murder house.
You also notice a figure sitting in a chair facing away from you.
Ugh.
Sort of like a tall armchair, and you can see an arm off to the side of the chair, just from the back, and facing towards the fireplace embers.
Is it a rocking chair?
Nope, it's like a tall...
Okay.
Can I perception check around now? To
Sure,
see
do you
if I
wanna-
see anything?
Sure, do you want to walk around the room, or are you just like looking around?
I just want to look around. I don't want to go too far.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, make a roll.
11.
The light is really low. Do halflings have dark vision?
I don't think so. I don't have it written down.
I do.
I don't...
The light's pretty low for Anstis to tell much of anything, but it's a pretty barren house. There's like a couple shelves, not much on them. A little like wood burning stove, not much more, and of course a chair with someone sitting in it.
Has the figure reacted to someone falling through the door?
Seemingly not.
Okay.
So I'm like inside now, right?
Yeah, you like tumbled through the door.
Is there blood on the floor?
There is. Do you have dark vision?
I do.
There's no blood on the floor next to the oath person. They're just like with like white bubbly bile coming out of their mouth, dead.
Can I do like a medicine or a history check to see if I can figure out how long the body's been dead?
You can, but you actually see more.
Okay, go ahead.
From the chair, It's sort of like one of those like upholstered armchairs, like in the Matrix. It's got like a big, tall, cloth-covered back and 2 big arms and like wooden legs.
In the Beast chair is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it has wooden legs to it. So with your dark vision, Kinsel, do you have dark vision?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I do.
Okay, well, the dark vision folks notice coming from the bottom of the armchair, it's just a steady, just doop, doop, of some liquid, just sort of dripping out of the bottom. What other check did you say you wanted to make?
See how long the body's been dead.
Oh, the oath body.
Yeah.
Sure. What kind? You want to do a history check or?
History.
Do a medicine check if you want to see like the nature of how, like the nature of their death.
Okay. Nice. 20, not natural.
Yeah, you get a strong idea that this person has been poisoned in some way. Probably died suffocating on bile.
Like agonizing pain.
Yeah.
Okay. Any idea, like, was it today? Was it a week ago? Was it
recent? Like, the bubbles are still like crackling out of their mouth, though they're still dead.
Okay. I'm just going to relay that to the party.
So they died here. There might be something about this place. I don't like it.
I think the good thing, though, is that it's an Oath member that was been sacrificed. Maybe silver linings here.
That's true.
That's
Can I
the-
just like sidle slowly around the other side of the armchair to get a better look at whoever is in it?
Yeah.
I feel like your smile says this is a terrible idea, but I've already
No,
said
yeah.
it, so I'm gonna commit.
Of course you can.
Great. Don't let me die, guys.
I'm gonna ready a spell because I don't trust this.
Sure. As you have this idea, Kelm is gonna take his crossbow and say, "It's the same to y'all. I'm gonna keep lookout outside." And he's just gonna sort of post up at the door, ready for who knows what.
Okay.
I'm going to join Calm outside, just for my dark vision. I think it could help.
Has the gull who had like squawked earlier and us seeing this building, has he reacted at all as we've come closer to the scene?
He's calmed. He's back calmed. He just was startled at seeing another fallen gull from afar.
Okay. I thought...
He just got a little surprised by it. So Morella begins
Yeah.
a sort of creep towards the chair. She's getting a little closer, maybe about 2 yards off. And she puts her boot down on one of the floorboards and it goes... No reaction. She keeps going around further, and you just see, like, from her camera angle, it's like slowly.
Ooh.
She's moving closer towards him, and more of this figure is being revealed. And what you see is a man hunched over like this, with 2 massive knives sticking out of his back. And you also see the unfortunate sight of the traditional Hokata Bay armor. This is one of the soldiers from Hokata Bay. And he's standing there, or he's sitting there, slumped over. On his lap is some papers, and in his other hand is like some kind of tube. You can't quite see what it is.
I think we found
But
one
he did.
of our soldiers. He's from Hokata Bay.
Ugh. I'll
Tink
creep
peering in.
up and look.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you say that again? You're gonna take a look at him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm creeping up next to Mira to look.
Okay. So he has just one hand sort of slumped off to the side of the chair. He's got some papers on his lap, and in the other hand he has sort of tube It's hard to tell what the tube really is without like picking it up and looking at it. But he is of a race that is not often seen on Azal. He is a Capran, which is a sort of ram folk. He's got sort of horns that sort of go back, and he's sort of got a snout. He's sort of kind of billy goat hair, and his eyes are closed as he's slumped forward. Yeah, that's pretty much what you see. And he's got 2 knives sticking out of his back. One of those knives has an orange feather sticking off of it.
Definitely dead.
Yep, he's long gone.
Which body has been dead for longer?
Do you want to make a medicine check?
Sure.
A post-mortem check?
Yeah, I'll make a medicine
Postmortem.
check too.
Okay.
With my +2. Oh, natural 1. No, I don't know. I don't know.
I rolled a 2.
No!
That's 3.
We don't know.
5. We don't. He's
know.
dead.
He's dead.
Yeah,
He's really dead.
He's a mummy. He's ancient.
It's been weeks, guys. Weeks.
Okay, yeah, he's dead as well.
Are we getting any sort of like ritual vibe as we're looking into this room? Like a weird candle that's kind of melted to the floor?
Can I look at the
Seems odd.
papers on his lap?
Yeah, sure. So you pick up the papers, and there's a lot of writings about sort of speculation about the creatures, dated between yesterday and like 3 or 4 or 5 days ago, sort of on the bottom. And then on the very top, sort of crumpled and way more hastily written than the others, is sort of documentation about how the researching party was sort of stationing themselves at these ruins near the lake. And this ramfolk, this Capran, he's a beast researcher, and he became afraid, decided to retreat and head back to Hokata Bay. His writings sort of discuss how he's ashamed of himself and how he thinks he's being followed by creatures, possibly oath soldiers, and how he'd taken refuge in this cabin.
Huh.
As you grab the papers, Morella, you catch a whiff of something from the blowgun. Or it's a blowgun. You catch a whiff.
Blowgun.
You catch a whiff of something from the tube that smells like poison. A familiar
Okay.
poison to you, and you get the idea that this is a blowgun weapon in his
How
hand.
is this familiar to how is the poison familiar to me?
You just got close enough to it. I mean, it's like it's not like a, like a diplomacy kind of poison. It's more of like a wild poison.
Okay.
Like it's not something you could put in someone's food. It's like
Okay.
wild poison that you would put on a dart.
Okay.
So you kind of catch a whiff of it, sort of having a sort of forest, a bit of a background with forest. You sense that he has a blowgun, and the poison sort of gets put together with the oath person on the ground. It seems like instead of a ritual, there's been more of a scuffle gone on here.
Yes, I think this man killed this woman. This, and I gingerly hold up the blowgun. Smells faintly of poison. A poison.
Make a
I am
dexterity
familiar-
check for when you hold it up.
Oh, great. Wonderful. Good to know.
Careful, Mira.
Gotta be careful. 14 dexterity. Dexterity check or saving throw?
Just a check.
Okay. 15, 17.
Okay. You pick it up and you don't disturb it too much, but you notice at the very end there is like a fresh dart right on in the end.
Ah,
Not been
And-
yet fired.
there's one left. Should we need it for something? She says awkwardly. But this looks like a scuffle went down here.
What about the candle?
I don't know. Is there, like, would we know anything about why that would be there? Like, is it just a really tall candle, or is there, like, a specific purpose to this candle?
You can make a history check.
I will make a history check.
Can I help
Make
her?
a candle check.
I'm
I be
gonna
able-
make a candle check.
Can I help
I'd be
her
able
in
to
the
make a
history check?
religion check on the candle.
Nice.
Yeah, sure. Pete, you can help the history check.
19.
Ooh, yeah, that's gonna be better than me.
Nope.
9.
For the history check, it looks rather decorative.
It's just a fancy candle.
You've seen these a lot. People like to use them for long nights without having to stoke a fire. Low light, when you don't need much light. Cheap, easy to build.
It's just a really fancy candle. No need to worry.
It's a nice candle.
It's a nice candle.
That's a big candle.
Kelm sort of bashes back through the door and he says, "The coast looks pretty clear out here. I say we take a rest, head out in the morning. I'd hate to be out here for much longer in the night."
I think we should be all right.
Can we move the bodies?
Yes, I was going to suggest
Yeah.
that. Let's just...
Yeah.
I was going to
Get rid
sleep
of
on
them.
those.
Yeah. Just give me a sec, guys. I want to go through their pockets, though.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah. Make an investigation check.
Chad, did you say those papers, or are they like just individual sheets of paper?
Yep, they're kind of like from like a set. So there's like, you sense that they go together, they belong together, but yeah, they are just a stack of papers.
Okay. And then is there like any other like journals or any other notebooks or anything else that we can see?
There's books in the house, but they're mostly like storybooks.
Okay.
Ooh, fun.
If no one opposes, actually go ahead, Marie.
I got a 16.
Who are you looking at?
Do I have to do them one at a time?
Yeah.
I'm gonna start with the Oath member.
Okay. She has her armor on, which is relatively in good shape compared to the last Oath soldiers that you left with many holes in their armor. She has 50 silver, and she has some notes, some orders, which are written in common.
Okay.
Did I find any vials of poison, anything like that?
Not on her.
Okay.
Do you want to look at the Ram folk, the Capran?
Yeah.
Can
If
I?
anyone wants to help,
Yeah.
Oh,
Can,
sure.
can
Yeah,
I have
I'll
the sheets of
look.
paper? Can
I'm
I
not
have-
good at this.
Is this investigation or perception?
Investigation.
Oh, I'm not good at it either, but I'll help.
Yeah. I got a 15.
I also got a 15.
Okay. You don't find any vials of poison, but you do find some. You find a little canister of blow darts. Upon examination, they don't look poisoned. They're just kind of barbs. You also, through this investigation check, see on the Capran's teeth and mouth, same sort of dark purple poison that was on the remaining dart in the gun. You get the sense that this guy somehow was actually manufacturing the poison.
That's
There's
interesting.
some strange ability, which is
That's
not natural to
weird.
Capran.
Interesting. Does anyone want a blowgun and blow darts?
I'm not one for the gun or the darts, but I'd like the material, the pieces of paper, and the information. I fancy myself a bit of a researcher.
Oh, yeah. If you want to do that, go for it. I hand them over.
Is his name anywhere on? Can I ask that? Is his name anywhere on the papers? Like, does he have?
Yes. His name is Orville.
Perhaps if we return to Hokata Bay at some point, we could perhaps seek out to see if this man has any family.
Is Orville the Oath member or the other one?
Orville's the Ramfolk guy. The
Okay,
Oath member
okay.
doesn't have any note of its name.
If looking through that research or paper, I heard Beast research something along those lines. If you see any of that nature, images or anything of that sort, please, I could see them for a brief moment.
Certainly.
Yeah, just to re-say that.
I don't think there was, but
No. You're 100% right. The majority
Okay.
of the papers are chronicling his past 5 days on this research trip to the lake, where they went to these ruins that are nearby the lake where the rest of the group stationed. And there are some writings about the creatures based on speculation, things he'd heard. He and the rest of the research party had run into some other travelers who gave them some information, which is in there. In order to glean proper information from his writings, I'd have you make intelligence checks.
All of us, or just whoever's looking?
Whoever's reading it, or whoever wants to.
Is it like quick enough that we can read through it pretty fast here, or is it like pretty dense material? Okay.
It's quick enough you can read through it pretty fast.
I got a
No.
14.
Not worth speaking of. Not worth speaking of.
17.
Not going to bother helping.
Okay, so between Kinsel and Tink, you sort of pass them off and read them between each other. And there's a lot of descriptors about the creatures, and they do tend to corroborate the drawing that Anstis had. They're said to be, they walk on 4 legs, mostly, but still sort of walk tall like a gorilla would. So the back legs are a lot shorter than the front legs. They have sort of a bony composition draped in sort of slimy tar-like flesh that sort of hangs from them. They have long snouts and lower jaws that can unhinge to pretty much consume anything. You do get a sense, and this is noted in Orville's writings, that there is a sort of a big fish, tall tailness to the creatures as they're described by different people. So you don't know how accurate these are, but these are sort of the rumors. Orville himself had not yet seen one of the creatures.
It might be a little late for this, but to my understanding, creatures were coming from the water and kind of moving inland, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we were moving through the forest, were we seeing any kind of damage to the trees or anything of that nature?
You weren't. The feather fawn wood is seemingly undaunted by their scourge. You do know, if you recall, that the creatures sort of disappear and sink eventually when they're sated. But again, you've never spoken to anyone who's seen one of them aside from the children actually, that were too afraid to talk. So the candle is sort of dwindling out. Fireplace is dwindling out as well. It's getting close to pitch black. And it's very late. It's getting late.
I'm gonna kind of gather up the bodies and try to get them outside.
I'll help Anstis.
Helm will go to Anstis with his arms out, seeing her probably trying to lug. The Caprin are pretty thick, pretty thick race. He sort of wraps something around his mouth, not wanting to get the poison drip onto him, and he sort of lugs the bodies outside. props him up against the door, throws a piece of canvas over him.
Ansis is going to do some kind of very basic last rites for them to help
Even
them
the elf
along.
guy or the elf girl.
Yeah, she'll do both of them.
Okay.
If
Them
I
on
go
their
outside,
journey.
if I go outside, can I see the moon?
No, it's actually like a new moon, which is why it's particularly dark right now.
Okay.
So
Cool.
it's not very visible.
All right. Well, I'm gonna say prayers anyway, and then I'll go inside.
Okay. So if you guys recall, the way that we're going to do the resting system, sort of as a group, it's sort of going to be understood that between the 5 characters, you figured out a way to let everyone get a good night's sleep while swapping off short watches. So when we do a night of rest, we're just going to do like a night watch check where everybody rolls a perception check, and then we're going to see how that shakes out as a group. And that'll be how like the collective watch has gone.
Just passive perception.
Your actual perception, just like an actual perception check plus your modifiers.
Do you want dark vision to have any role in this?
Nope.
Okay.
I roll a 4.
14.
21.
14. Oh.
Nice.
And Kelm has a 15. So you all sort of, you get the bodies moved out, and you kind of set up your bedrolls, swapping out watches through the night. You had a 21, Morella?
Yeah, 21.
You, during your watch, sort of have a keen eye trained out of the window, and you notice sort of some purple eyes looking at you from the far forest. And at some point while you're watching, they sort of trail off and drift back off into the forest. And your watch goes off uneventfully, and you all get a peaceful night of sleep.
Hey, can I have created my amulet during my watch? Can we just assume that's what I do during that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sweet.
Do you want to explain the quirk?
Yeah. So, my quirk is, I think, kind of cool. So ultimately, Tink's going to be, he dabbles in transmutation, and he likes like alchemy, and he just likes the natural properties and like metals of the earth. So every long rest, he can create an amulet. I'll roll a d20 to determine what it does. On a 1, it's a fumble, and I re-roll again for like some type of negative repercussion at DM's discretion. If I roll a 2 to 5, nothing happens. If I roll a 3 to 10, I can keep it myself, or I can give it to one of you. I can give it to a willing companion. You get an advantage on one check roll during that day of your choice, and you have to decide to use the dice before you make the roll. 11 to 15 is advantage on a check or a save, your choice. 16 to 19 is advantage on a check or a save or an attack, your choice. And then if you get a nat, or if I get a nat 20, you get advantage on all 3. So.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, and the other thing is it has to stay on your person if I give it to you. So if I gave it to one of you guys, like, you can't just hand it off.
You can't like sell them and stuff.
Right. Once it leaves your person, it's destroyed. If you don't use it during that day as well, it's destroyed when I create a new one. So I will go ahead and roll for it.
Cool.
And I got a 7. So I have advantage on a check roll. I'm going to keep it for myself today.
Okay. So the sun begins to rise. The hill area that the house is in is sort of in like a raised area above the rest of the forest. Doesn't give you a great vantage point on things, but it gives you a sense that there are some breaking points in the forest. Morella, the departing purple eyes, you're reminded that in the daylight, in the mornings, these creatures may not be around. They were sort of retreating from the sun. So the bodies have been cleaned, the cabin has been investigated, and there's a ranger who knows the way north. But what will you do?
Really quick, before we take off, would we have a moment like where we're eating breakfast? Because if it's possible, I'd like to take a moment to do a rough sketch of the Caprin. Nothing crazy. Just more of a reminder for myself.
Yeah, you wake up and you have a little bit of the bread that's left, a little bit of the dried fish that Vance gave you. You haven't had to resort to gross jerky or anything yet.
All right.
And you're reasonably well fed. So the sun begins to rise. Kinsel goes outside, taking the sheet off of the dead bodies, bearing the smell to get some information to add to his log.
I return, I'd say, I apologize for that. Be off whenever you are all ready.
I'm ready when you all are.
I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm good.
Off we go.
Okay, so the party pulls their bootstraps up, sort of heading to the backside of the cabin to continue on. You do feel a bit more breeze coming your way. Based on the map that you've seen, Listener's Lake is rather large, and you begin to travel during the day. It's early enough that this is probably the lightest time you've seen the dense part of the forests. You continue to sort of step over the spiny vines with a little bit more light this time, making it a little bit easier. Not quite as frightening. Actually kind of lovely. The sun kind of shoots through the sort of mistiness of the forest, and the sun shooting through gives those kind of beams where the sun kind of catches the dust. Gives those good, like, solid beams. You had enough to eat, feeling good, and you have a long day of travel ahead of you, and it's generally uneventful until you see the ground start to sort of incline a bit. You hadn't noticed, but you'd actually been traveling kind of downward into this sort of drop-off sink part of the forest. So in front of you, the land kind of catches, and as the tree line breaks and you spill out into a more open area, you're faced with a rather large cliff face straight ahead, jutting out, which was hard to notice from the cabin because of the tree cover. But the forest sort of dips in strange ways. Based on how long you've traveled, you know that you're getting close to the lake and possibly the ruins that were spoken of in the writings. But you've got a big giant wall in front of you, and it spans out for a good ways. But if you look down far enough, it does seem to scale down a bit, but it does seem to be quite bushy that in either direction.
The gull that we have brought with us, is that large enough to carry a gnome?
It could be. It's rather large, but it doesn't really know how to take any orders aside from fly home. You could try to talk it into carrying a gnome.
Throw the gnome.
You never know how smart this gull is.
You might want to ask the gnome what he thinks.
Throw the gnome.
curious.
It's not a terribly menacing cliff face. You've seen taller on the coast of Hokata Bay and probably many of your home worlds. It's just that it's rather sheer, and it looks like the fastest way to get to the lake right now.
Yeah.
This is curious. I think the easiest way would.
Well, actually, I should ask: are we carrying rope? Do we all have rope on us, right?
Depending on what pack you took, you should have rope.
Okay, I do have rope. I do have rope.
I have rope.
I think I do.
If one of us is able to get up there and tie a rope off, or have it at least drop it down to the rest of us, it might make the path a little bit easier.
Who's the best climber?
Kelm's like,
I've got decent acrobatics. That's about it.
Take more of your core strength to accomplish.
I could parkour up. You don't know me.
I'm not sure I'm the candidate for this.
Cam, I have a crazy idea, but do you want to attempt to climb this before we attempt anything crazier than that?
I'll give it a go, but I ain't never climbed much more than a ladder.
I have faith, I think they call it.
Okay. Kelm's willing. He'll give it a
Before
crack.
he goes up, Anstis is going to take his hand and be like, I believe in you. Here's some guidance. I cast guidance on him.
What'll that do for him?
You get a D4 to add to your roll.
Add to like a D20 roll?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what Kelm has at his disposal. So, as we remember, Kelm's weapon is a large cast iron meat cleaver. Doesn't have much sharp to get into the side of the mountain, nor does he have claws. He just has talons on his feet. So he takes 2 of his crossbow bolts and begins to...
Wait, before he does, can Tink approach him? Sorry.
Sure, he's like, he just is like standing there like this.
Just gonna run up. Come. Take this. And then I'm gonna hand him the amulet that I created, and it's gonna be just like a cool looking stone, and it's gonna be the color of just like fierce bright red. And I'll just say, this might be good luck for you.
How do I use this thing?
Just put it in your pocket.
How do people actually use them?
So like when you're like, hey, roll an athletics check, then if you decide you want to use that advantage on that roll, you can. If you don't want to.
So it's kind of like will-based.
Yeah, it's will-based.
Okay.
It's not like, it's like inspiration.
Okay.
Like bardic inspiration, kind of, except you just get advantage whenever you want. Only once, to be clear.
Okay. Well, he might make it up yet, because it's going to take 2 checks to get up.
Oh no! I don't have 2 amulets.
Well, he has the blessing from Anstis, so...
You can only use that once.
He jams the arrows in, and he sort of looks onto his back where he keeps his giant cauldron shield, and he's just sort of like, oh, help me. And he starts stabbing him in, and his feet sort of go into like the rocky dirt of the wall. It's a very weird sight to see a giant bird with 2 arrows in his hands and 2 clawed feet in the ground wearing a cowboy hat. It's very weird. So he begins to climb up, and once he's about 6 feet high, things get a little bit more difficult for him. And he gets a natural 20 on the first try.
Hey.
So for the first leg, he just shoots right up. It's kind of amazing. He's feeling confident. He's got like one hand up. He's like waving to you guys. He's like giving the feather thumb up. But then the cliff kind of goes like this to the point where you're kind of going at a slant. But it is the final leg. of the climb, and he's like, "I forgot my rope."
Oh
He's
no!
not.
That would be the worst.
Okay, gonna have to use everything here. Okay, so he starts to climb, and it's just getting a little bit more flattened out, and a little bit more flattened out, and you're just like, please do not let me see this giant bird fall off a cliff. And he hits one of the arrows in, and it hits sort of a loose piece of dirt, and it just kind of goes, and one of his hands falls off, and the arrow flies down, and it sticks in next to Kinsel's foot, and it's just like, and he's just got one hand in, but he does have his talon still in with his feet, but he still manages to get one arrow over the top ledge and sort of claw himself up with his talons, just barely. Just very barely.
All right.
Polite
Who's ready?
clapping from Mira.
Good job, Kelm. You did it.
So he's just face first at the top, like. So you wait a couple minutes for him to compose himself before he fastens in a rope. He sort of wedges his mace into the rock, gets it tied up real nice for safety, lowers it down to you guys, and he sort of looks over and he says, "Sorry for the scare. I'm much better at the pulling part." And the rope is lowered to you guys.
Who wants to go first?
I will.
I'll go. Yeah.
I'll just look around and go, I guess I'll go.
So when you grab the rope,
Yep.
you're like it's like you're just yanked to the top with ease. There's not much difference to come between the rope and you on the rope. Same will go for Anstis.
Yay.
Yay.
Even with all my armor?
What kind of armor do you have on?
I've got full chain.
Okay, we're gonna have you make a strength check to hold.
Okay. Uh, 21.
Nice.
Okay. So between Kelm pulling the rope and you climbing the rope, you get up. We're only one check since it's kind of a double game going on. You climb up fairly easily, dexterous halfling that you are. Kelm reaches out to sort of grab you by the scruff, but you're already past him.
Yeah.
You sort of leapt up.
Yeah.
I'll go.
Okay.
I'm
Grab hold.
small-ish. Not as small as a halfling or a gnome, but I'm small-ish. Wait. I'm sorry, what was I doing?
You're doing a strength check. This is to see how well you can hold and pull.
This won't go well. I need to pick a luckier dice. Hold on. All right. With my +0, this is a straight roll. Oh, okay. Well, 10?
It's exactly what you needed
Oh, good!
for this to go off without a hitch.
Glad to hear it.
So this is doesn't look quite as cool as Ansys, who got pulled up and then sort of like flipped over the top part of the cliff. You're sort of like just like hanging there dangling.
I've got like jelly arms. I'm like, I can do this.
And you make it to the top. It's rather exhausting, not too quick, but Kelm holds out his arm for you to grab for the final bit.
Just pull
Hoist you
myself
up.
Thank you, Kelm.
He leans over the thing again. You kind of see his face pick up to Kinsel. He says, "Mind bringing that arrow with you?"
I look down to my feet. I pick it up. I stick it in my pack.
All right, a strength check for Kinsel.
We go. A 9.
Oh, no.
Okay, so you are getting pulled up, same as the rest, and you're also climbing at the same time. You're making good. You're making good leeway. Suddenly, your hand just kind of slips a little bit, and you get to that point where it's like you either have to grab on, facing great rug burn, and just like shredding your hands, or let go. Your mind sort of like flashes before your eyes, and you get a chance to sort of like re-grip yourself. So make a dexterity saving throw. Else you might be going for a tumble.
Oh no.
An
Oh,
8?
no.
Just keep going lower. Get out of here.
So he tries to grab on, willing to sacrifice his hands to cling to this rope, but it's just not there for him. The rope sort of goes flimsy. Kinsel sort of falls backwards. It's not a lethal fall, but he is going to take 6 points of damage.
Jeez. That's borderline lethal for me.
I know, right?
Yeah, for real.
Kelm will throw down his length of rope in addition to the rope that we had been using, and he says, "Just tie yourself in. We'll pull you up as a group."
Yeah, we'll pull you up.
I suppose I should have done that to begin with.
I'm surprised nobody did that to begin with.
Oh, we gotta roll with the dice, man. All right, yeah. I mean, I'll do that. I will use it to bind myself to the rope. Put my fate in all your hands.
Kelm grabs the rope. He throws the rope further back to Tink, and he says, "Muscles up."
I'm gonna flex.
Anstis just laughs at him.
And we begin to just pull Kinsel up. He's just dangling kind of sadly with a somewhat injured back. He's just going to be pulled up.
I'm not embarrassed at all.
So everyone's made it to the top of a cliff. And when you get to the top, you notice that to the sides of the cliff are what seem to be adult versions, if you will, of those slithering spiky vines, and they just swell up to these massive brambles that are kind of alive and just kind of sort of realizing that trying to go around would have been rather unpleasant. And you do find yourself at a rather high vantage point, and you kind of look over the landscape, and you can see sort of just over the tree line. You can see the lake way off in the distance, sort of shrouded in atmosphere. But you see you're definitely going the right direction. You also see a sort of clearing in the trees, probably half a day's travel away. And sticking up out of it, sort of a collapsed little tower. And you get the idea that these are the ruins that you had heard about, and they are directly in line to head to the lake. Outside of that, the forest and the giant brambles seem to dive into the landscape, and you can't really tell where they go.
So I'm assuming Tink had been briefed too. Can you remind me like what those... shit, I'm forgetting the word you just used.
The ruins?
Yeah, sorry, I was blanking out. Yeah, what are the ruins? Or what do I...
You know as much as everyone else. The ruins, you read about them in Orville's writings.
Okay.
The rest of the research party was stationing there to conduct their research and testing. It's near enough to the lake to they thought to look into things.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that this wasn't like the kind of like those mana.
No, those are
the
like
sending spires that
those are
everyone was
really
looking at.
massive. You'll see them sticking up real
cool.
high. So, let's see here. Noticing Kinsel's injury and his fall, Kelm's going to say to Morella, "You know, that bit of a tumble there gave me sort of a flashback. Mind if I take a look at that yellow goo?
Sure. Hold it out for him to take.
He sort of takes hold of it, uncorks it, sort of smells it, and sort of you can see like him doing his very simple version of math in his head.
Mhm.
It's like the beautiful mind thing, except it's just like 1 + 1. And he's like, I've seen these before. They use them in the military, help them not fall so hard, break their fall. Seen a man take it midway through falling off a boat, sort of drifted down real slowly. Sorry I didn't tell you sooner. You just jogged my memory, Kinsel.
Fine.
He sort of goes, "Pook." He pops the cork back in and holds it out to you. In case you ever fall again.
Oh, he's handing it to me?
Mm-hmm.
Or okay.
Yeah.
Take it. Sure.
Unless Morella wants it.
No, that's fine. Let me just mark it off my inventory.
While we have a moment, could I also cast Good Berry? Wanting 10 berries, restoring 1 HP each. My hand?
Sure.
So he'd eat 6 of them?
Sure.
It's a process of... Not done. Not done. I got 4 berries.
Okay, so straight ahead. It probably took you an hour, maybe 2 to deal with that cliff face. You could probably make it to the ruins by nightfall if you hustle. You gather.
Sure.
So.
Elsie will be spending the night in the forest.
We don't have tents or anything, right?
We have
that's
bedrolls.
I think
We have
depending
bedrolls.
on what starting thing you take, some people have tents, but I don't know who has what. But you could try to put some sticks together. The theme of the night.
A lean-to.
I suppose we attempt to book it.
I'll give Tink an advantage for building a tent since he had to make his own to sleep in a couple days ago.
Nice. So we camp out then, or are we gonna push forward?
We should push forward, but I don't think we should sacrifice being careful to make it a dangerous place. Sense.
Uh-oh. Is
You're
Ryan cutting out for anyone?
Man. You're cutting out.
Am I still cutting out?
No.
It might just be that. Okay. It just might just be that I wasn't speaking loud enough. I apologize. I don't know if we should rush through a dangerous area to get to a dangerous place before we. Yeah, you know what I mean. Let's take it slow. Let's take it careful.
We'll move
Yeah.
at a careful pace, but try to get there in a timely fashion. And if we don't, then we will camp out in the woods.
Okay.
Okay.
You're not on a schedule per se, so no harm in that. So the cliff face is one of the taller areas of the Feather Fawn Wood. And you begin to sort of dip back down into the thick of the forest. Now and again, you see some of these thick, sort of fully grown, bramble, spiky things just sort of doing the same thing the other ones were, just sort of sitting there, just sort of flailing slowly. They don't really posit a problem to anyone, unless you poke them with a stick, maybe. But you see them sort of swirling along beside you as you travel. You are careful to avoid all of them, though. And as you go, you don't see any signs of the ruins or the lake ahead. But the day has grown long, and the sun has fallen low, and you're seeing similar signs that you recognize of the sort of drifty fireflies, sort of gray purple hue to the forest, no light coming through. It's getting rather dark. For those who have dark vision, probably only can almost even see at this point unless torches are lit or something of the like.
One is opposed. May I light a torch?
Not opposed. Though I would say keep it clear of the brush if you can. Fire in a forest is not necessarily the easiest idea.
Okay. Do you light a torch?
No one else has any tricks. I would light a torch.
Okay.
I
I
have
can,
no
I can
tricks.
light it. I can light it for you, but
Right when you light the torch, there's a reaction from the forest itself. Sort of tentacles that sort of move around you, or the vines sort of go. They sort of peel back from it.
Oh.
And it actually provides a very, very safe walking path.
Good.
Eh,
Better
job.
result than I imagined.
Kelm, like noticing, also lights a torch, even though he has dark vision, just for warding off the vines. You continue on further. You feel the night get colder. You know you're close to the lake, well, close-ish, because of the winds that sort of bristle through the trees, but it has grown rather cold, and it's starting to get to the point where you've got to lay your heads down and decide how you're going to sleep where you haven't made it to the ruins or the clearing.
well, we should probably make a fire.
Yes. Perhaps two. Kind of mark off a large area.
Yeah, but we do want to be careful with not burning down the forest.
Between the torches from Kinsel and Kelm, you are able to sort of walk in such a way that you can get a clear bit of ground to sleep in. They are more concentrated near like the stumps of trees. So your best place to get a clearing is probably just anywhere.
Yeah, we'll try to find the biggest space between trees and set up camp there, I suppose.
Okay. Kelm's gonna say, what do we think? Tents or just old-fashioned looking up at the stars style?
I think we can just sleep on the ground.
yeah.
Yeah.
Does it look like rain?
You can make a perception check. It's hard to see the sky out of the tree cover.
14.
Nope, doesn't look like rain at all.
I have no objections to sleeping under the stars.
Okay, so everyone sort of gathers around the fire where the bramble vines are sort of in fear. Get your bedrolls out, comfy place to lie, and you set up your watches, and you plan to rotate through the night as always, and trade watches. So let's do our group night watch check.
Perception, right?
Yep.
In again.
Not natural 20.
Also not natural 20.
Okay.
A 14.
Okay. Kelm rolled pretty well as well. So The night is quiet, barring the sort of, it's almost hypnotic, the sort of recoiling of the brambles, just sort of like, you can hear them stretching out and recoiling back in. The ones in the distance, the big ones. Hear some crickets. The fireflies are sort of drifting around you, sort of in place. For whatever reason, the fireflies around here don't have much of an agenda or a place to be. They just like to sit in one place, probably because it looks cool on film. And you all take part of your watches. Tink, during your watch, though, something strange happens. You feel a low rumbling. Not like an earthquake, just more of a humming that seems to sort of come from the ground a little bit, just sort of. And you sort of are, before you can sort of wonder what it is, you realize that there's something hovering above the party. And you look up, and what it looks like almost is sort of this amorphous water blob. And as you look up, you notice that it's probably about 20 feet high into the air. You notice that this blob is connected, and it sort of trails off into the forest like a big tentacle or a big sort of mass made of water, and it's just sort of looking down at you, and it's just sort of. And as you observe it, you hear it making a quiet noise. Almost sounds like whining. It's sort of like. And you notice that through its mass, the sort of big part that's sort of lurking over the camp, sort of these black veins that are sort of running through the water. And it has this sort of orb at the very center, like an eye, sort of like, so it's like a big water snake that has like just a orb floating at the center of it. And it's got these black veins, and it's sort of just whining and just looking down.
And the rest of us are asleep.
Mm-hmm. Jeez. I'm going to very slowly crawl over to...
Make a dexterity check.
Okay, jeez. All right. 7.
Okay. You go to, much like the scenario with the door, you go to move, you sort of crunch some leaves, and it sort of goes, and it sort of just sort of swims off into the night.
Okay. Well, even though I'm loud, I'm still going to walk over to Morella, or crawl over to Morella.
Okay.
And I'm just going to say, psst.
What? What?
Did you see that? Did anyone see that? And then now that it's gone, I'm gonna be like more stirred, I guess. So like I'm not afraid to be louder.
See what, Tink?
There was this thing. There's this thing above us in the sky. It was looking down at us. Did you hear anything?
Did I hear anything?
Nope. It was
No.
pretty quiet.
No, I didn't. What did it look like? What was it?
It was almost like this big water elemental that spanned a very long distance beyond what I could see. And it had these veins, these dark veins into this almost eye-looking thing just peering down at us. It was making this low rumbling, almost like a little earthquake or something. Nobody heard any of that? Now I'm like kind of like freaked out clearly, so I'm like kicking Calm and like pushing
But
Kinsley.
have I heard of anything like this?
Like he mentioned, everyone's heard of water elementals.
Okay.
Kinsel, I suppose, more familiar with the druidic studies, especially is familiar with water elementals. This isn't a water elemental.
Okay.
But
Good to know.
it's a fair way to kind of think of it.
Is it like...
Looks a little bit more like the boss from Ocarina of Time, the Water Temple. It's just like a big, like, serpent that's just water with no features and just like a round ball like at the tip of it.
Did
like
it
floating.
seem aggressive at all?
Well, I don't think so. I was looking at us, and almost there was a whining noise. I don't know if it was just analyzing us, or... But as soon as I noticed and tried to walk towards you, boy, I'm clumsy, it scurried away.
Whining, like it was hurt? Like it was sick?
Chad, can you...
Make a nature check to sort of think of your experience with creatures and...
Can I do a history check? Just because I'm well learned.
Sure.
God bless. 12.
It's hard
No, I'm
to
sorry,
tell.
13.
It's hard to tell, but it didn't seem like a threatening noise, at least not the whining part. It's hard to say about the rumbling part.
It's very odd. I can't say... I don't think I've heard of anything like this before. Not that I know of.
Kinzel?
Did he get woken
Can I
up?
roll? I assume he was being loud enough to wake us all up. So
Yeah, I kicked you awake.
listening to the
Like a-
story, does it jive any memories? I have any experience with anything like this?
No, but I'm going to give you advantage since it's a creature-related check.
On nature?
Mm-hmm.
Roll 20. 23 total.
Okay. So here's the deal. Your memory is jogged, though identified as an elemental. Your druidic histories sort of know that kind of clashes with the description. And what was described is actually a very rare creature. And it's baffling to you because the creature that you know this to be never leaves the water. Your understanding is that it actually shouldn't be even able to leave the water. But this is a water weird.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And you also know water weirds not to have... They shouldn't have like black veins running up their bodies.
Is water weird like in like fantasy lore? Like I've never heard of that.
It's like a D&D monster. I've never heard of it before Dungeons and Dragons, but...
Like weird spelled traditionally?
Yeah.
Yep.
I have black veins.
It shouldn't have black veins, but, you know, this is a strange continent, so it could be, you don't know what.
Yeah.
Do they typically have like an eye?
They are conscious beings, if I understand correctly. They probably have some way to sense their surroundings. Perhaps why it ran away after you moved. Though sounds a little odder than I have heard of, seen before. If it comes back, I would love to see it myself.
Did it run off in the direction that it was stretching towards? You said it seemed to stretch through the woods. Did it go back in that direction?
Yep, it came from...
Did it come from the lake's direction?
Yeah, that's what
yeah.
I'm wondering.
It had come from the lake's direction. The lake is very wide, though, so...
So it spans a ways.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's heartening to hear that such a creature is formed in such a odd way.
There must be something wrong.
Perhaps just another example of the evil that's spread.
Perhaps.
Are the creatures notably hostile to begin with? Or are they wicked in nature?
Yeah. I don't know if that would be in my knowledge, but I would assume. Do they typically act with evil?
Your natural 20 will carry through.
Okay.
They are protective of their homes,
Okay.
but they're not known to hunt.
Yeah, they just
humanoids.
get defensive. If they're defensive creatures. If you harm them, then they might act. But outside that, I think so.
Well, perhaps it will come back. Perhaps not, but we need to finish resting.
Kelm slept through this whole thing.
I'm sure he did.
Anstis is very grumpy and just wants to go back to sleep.
She does one of the like. Okay, so bit of a commotion in the night. Some interesting visitor, and other than that, the night is relatively peaceful. Other than the giant creature that visited the camp, the night is peaceful. You awaken, and the sun rising sort of reveals to you as you stir, sort of pathway through the trees, heading toward the lake. But you also awaken to a few other things. Strangely, there is like amazing smells that seem out of place for this to find in this part of the woods. It smells like freshly cooked vegetables and bread and meats. And what you also see is your companion, Kasago Kelm, standing there waiting for you all to wake up. He has his hat taken off and put onto his chest, and he has one hand behind his back. And he sort of waits for you all to stir, and he says, "I haven't been truthful with you all. Will you allow me to tell the truth?"
It's a little
Doesn't hurt
early
us.
for the truth, but
It's
I'm here to hear it.
damn early, man. What do you want?
He says, "I am in the Azalian military, but I'm not a soldier. I'm just a cook. I just wanted to go on an adventure. I paid the guy in the boat to say I was a soldier. And after seeing all you fight, I don't feel worthy of you. But if you allow me to stay with you," and he goes down on one knee, and from behind his back, he takes out this massive tray of like deliciously cooked breakfast. Says, "If you allow me to stay, I promise to keep you fed." And he has like his hat, and he looks really ashamed that he's lied to you all. Not a soldier at all.
Yeah, the logical thing to
Your choice of weaponry was unique, I should say. That explains some of that.
He sort of,
Is there coffee? Or tea or something caffeinated?
my abilities tend to be related only towards food. Kelm's quirk is that he can cast sort of a minimalized version of create food and water, except he can't create water, and he can only create like natural foods. Like he can't create like finished bread. We'd have to create like wheat or like veggies. So he says, "I'm not much for making coffee, but this will stick to your ribs."
Glad
And it's sort
to
of
hear
a
it.
plate of boiled potatoes and some bacon that you gather he's been storing on his person, and some sort of like biscuits, some like skillet cooked biscuits. It's a pretty complete breakfast.
Tink is absolutely delighted. He's just like jumping in, grabbing everything he can and just like stuffing his face.
Yeah, you're like, he never lied to me.
Not sure what the lie was, but thanks.
Anstis is confused and not entirely awake. She's just
Perhaps-
staring.
Perhaps we make our decision after we taste the food.
Okay, I'll make a cooking check here.
Oh shit! I thought the
Amazing.
food had already been made. It's not even made yet.
No,
Oh,
it's
this
made.
is just
It's
determine
made,
like
yeah,
how it is.
How it
Good it
tastes.
is. If
No,
we die.
he's pretty good at cooking. It's like what he's best at. Okay, so
Morella is happily eating. So
he sort of puts his hat back on and looks at you all from underneath with a watchful eye, happy that you've enjoyed it. Or maybe Anstis hasn't. She looks tired and skeptical.
Yeah.
Can I just
And
roll
he
real quick for my amulet?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'm just gonna hang on to it.
Would the military not have let you come on this? Why did you feel the reason to lie to us? I'm confused.
I just wanted people to think I was some kind of hero. I don't know, it was dumb. Not the smartest bird in the flock, I guess.
I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting people to think you're a hero.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not military, and I don't know about these guys, but I don't really have formal fighting training.
Everything I know I learned from my mother. So I'm certainly not military.
Well, as long as you know I got your back, I'm happy to be a part of this.
I think you've proven that.
He sort of bows and stands at attention, awaiting the day's orders.
Sis is just going to slowly take a biscuit and just shove the entire thing in her mouth.
Just all at once.
Just all at once. She's too tired, doesn't care.
Okay. So, the morning is still perking through the trees, illuminating sort of a clearing that seems a lot more free of the brambles. And it's easy to gather that this is the sort of way to the lake because the way behind you is very bushed and cluttered. And your day has begun.
How far are we from the lake? Approximately.
You're a good ways from the lake. You've probably got about a half day to the lake. Probably a lot less to the ruins.
Headed towards the ruins first. Our last known position on this.
I'm gonna pull out my just my book of spells and
Okay.
whip through it, and then cast my mage armor on myself.
Okay. You begin to walk forth. The general spacing of the trees being larger than you're used to makes it a little bit more of a delightful walk. You can actually enjoy the sun and the breeze a little bit more. The sort of dreary gray purpleness of the forest is not quite in full force any longer. You find as you are heading through these trees that are sort of, as you go, sprinkling less and less and less trees, you find a bit of shed armor. It's like a bit of shoulder armor and sleeve armor, just sort of laying and sort of covered with some light like leaves and twigs. And you look at it, and it seems pretty familiar to you guys as the Hokata Bay shoulder pads, sort of shell print, flat, pearl-colored armor. seems you're going in the right direction.
How sneaky are we trying to be, or are we not trying at all?
It's early, so you're not in any rush to beat nighttime.
Cool. I'm just trying to figure out whether or not it would be completely ridiculous if... I feel like with her mom, they probably sang and walked through the woods kind of thing. So I'm trying to figure out whether or not that would just be a terrible idea.
To sing?
Yeah, just like not like not loudly, but I mean like just out of habit, you know.
Make a performance check. No, I'm just kidding.
Goody. I can, or better yet, I could perform.
Sure. If you really want to sing,
Oh shit!
you're getting close to somewhere.
Hold on. I said it. Now I gotta commit. Hold on. Just let me just go through my head. Let me pick a thing. It's all mouth music, but it doesn't matter. We'll just say that it's one of the many languages she knows.
Okay.
Woo! Ederon Sederas. Ederhui Sederas. Lang nircha. Eto grumenta. Nir laknos nir. Eto grumenta. Mogra. I don't know what language it is, but it's one of the ones she knows. Wah! Some mouth music.
That's very lovely.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, having
That's
heard
great.
the music, a big orc charges out of the woods. And
Damn
he's like,
it!
"Is that singing?"
Oh no!
No! Amazing.
The singing helps the time pass, and before you know it, the tree line has broken, and ahead of you, in a clearing, a lightly wooded clearing, you do see two large statues that sort of lead their way into sort of an open sort of tunnel. You see the ruins sort of sprinkled behind it, but you can't really see into them at the moment.
Looking around, does it look like there's been any activity in the area?
Make a perception check.
Can I look around too?
Mm-hmm.
19.
22.
It looks rather serene. You sort of check the ground to see for footprints or blood or smoke rising or anything like that, and it looks pretty undisturbed, actually.
No bodies.
No bodies.
They're in the tunnel.
It's not actually a tunnel. It's just like two short, like
Kind of like an underpass type.
yeah.
Okay.
There's
okay.
two big statues, and then just sort of like stone kind of railings moving forward.
Okay.
Keep going, guys.
Is it worth using caution here?
You want to be quiet?
Well, according to those notes, the Caprin ran into something in this area, or rather ran away from something in this area. Might be helpful to at least be a little quiet.
Culm nods in agreement. Aye. I'll do my best, of course.
Stealthily. I'll try to move stealthily.
Okay, let's make a group stealth check to approach.
I will give Kelm my blessings of the trickster. So
Oh.
you have advantage.
He rolled
which
a 3,
cancels out your
so-
disadvantage.
Oh my god, guys.
Oh.
It was
I have disadvantage.
We're just rolling for a
Fine.
stealth check right now.
Yep.
it was so close to being a 2, but then it rolled over and it was a 20.
I rolled an 8.
Nice.
So
I rolled
close
an
to
8
being a
too.
2.
Oh, you rolled a 20?
Yeah, natural 20. It
A
was
natural 20?
almost a
Nice.
2. It was almost a 2, and then it rolled, and I was like, oh, thank God.
I feel like I should have gotten inspiration from the singing from Morella.
Oh yeah, that is
Yeah?
true. Take an inspiration dice.
What?
D6,
what
D12, D20.
Take a D8 inspiration for yourself.
D8? Ooh.
No, just her.
Oh, me?
What?
Yeah.
I was inspired.
I'm not a bard.
I was
yet.
inspired.
I'm a bard on Sunday nights, but I'm not a bard tonight. I cannot help you. I'm sorry.
I'm a halfling. Halflings love music.
Hey guys, this is the way it
I got
is.
a D8. I'm writing that down because I will forget it.
Well, I got a 9.
And you guys got 8s?
Yeah, I got an 8.
Okay.
Oh, that disadvantage.
So, Marilla sort of going into almost rogue mode, begins to sort of stalk towards the entry, and the party follows suit, sort of stepping in her tracks, remaining relatively quiet.
Clank, clank.
Come again?
Clank, clank.
Oh,
Clank, clank.
As you come closer, Tink, you notice the statues look pretty familiar. They're on these high, probably 5-foot pedestals. Standing there are these creatures, these beaked, spiked creatures with these big, long, barbed spears. These seem to be statues of the creature that assaulted your camp in the night.
Oh, the winged creature?
Yep. They have their wings are sort of folded behind their backs nicely, like a cape or something. And they're standing at attention with these long, barbed spears with these big, spiky heads.
And everyone else sees them, not just me.
Yep, everyone else sees them, but it's particularly, I mean, it's broad daylight.
Okay.
Everyone sees them, but it's particularly striking to you because
Okay.
it brings about some
Bad memories.
unpleasant.
So I will just kind of look at Kenzel and say, well, this is awfully close to what I was describing to you before. Do you think this is that devil creature that you had mentioned?
Can't hear you.
Oh, no.
Hold on.
Oh, no, you're back.
Back, okay.
What is this
It's-
secret switch on your headphones?
It's this thing that keeps getting caught like under me as I lean back, and then so when I move, I hit the button. I apologize. Devil creature. I don't believe I mentioned the devil creature earlier. I
That
think
was
that
me.
was somebody else.
Oh, Morella, so sorry.
That's fine.
Um,
Now that I'm closer, just do they look like devil creatures to me? Like now that I can like see it instead of just hear it being described.
Yep, they look rather devilish.
Oh yes, yes. Devil is the word I would use.
Do the statues look like is there anything disturbed around them? Like,
They look pretty shabby in general. This whole place has sort of been toppled. A lot of the walls and what you gather would have been towers are sort of crumbled into the ground. There's overgrowth sort of overtaking a lot of the things, but you're just kind of at the beginning right now.
so I'm just kind of seeing like the overlay of them, or like
they're kind of overgrown and a little shabby, but nothing too disturbed with them.
Well, I would say let's be on our guard. It's not unheard of for statues to suddenly become animated.
Well, a story my mom used to tell me talked about devils only come at night. At least we're in the sunlight.
That's fair.
Might not want to camp here at night.
Yeah?
Say let's move past these and get potentially as far away from them as we possibly can. I would not be comfortable making bed here for the night.
Okay, so what are we doing?
Oh.
Or through the ruins, it sounds like.
Okay, so the stealth roll will carry,
oh wow.
as Morello will leads you further through the ruins, avoiding the horror movie twig step.
Yeah.
Once you sort of travel down this sort of entry path, the ground sort of turns to stone. It's a little bit easier to walk through. There's some weeds kind of growing through, but you never really get to a point where you're indoors. The roofs are all kind of caved in, so it's just kind of walls and different openings about, and you kind of make your way, you kind of snake through, and it's just kind of spread out. It's very wide and not very tall because of all of the destruction. But Kinsel does notice a sort of toppled bit of wall that seems to be covering some kind of a doorway or something that sort of seems to be built in a stranger way than the other parts.
Seems to be a route or something, a path into the one over there, blocked by fallen rocks.
Worth exploring, do you think?
We're looking for individuals, perhaps refuge.
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
I don't necessarily see any harm in looking, do you?
More than we're already in.
Yeah, the stealth check will carry yet, and you sort of approach this fallen bit of stone. It seems to be propped up against some kind of entry point, and as you approach it, you sort of pass a wall that once passed, you look over to the side and you sort of see a stomped out fire and some tents and sort of a circle area with a bit of an overhang. Seems to be an empty camp. Some logs, some bedrolls, some papers. This would fit a description of what you're possibly looking for.
No bodies.
No bodies.
Any evidence that someone's been here recently?
Make an investigation check.
Oh. 18.
Okay. The fire has been put out rather long ago. No embers are burning. There's no smell of food or anything very recent. There are, however, packs, like travelers' packs, that are sitting next to each bedroll. Not that they have any indication of how lately things have been disturbed, but you do see travelers' packs next to the bedrolls.
No signs of struggle.
Nope.
This is outside of whatever tunnel.
Yeah,
or
this
whatever
is
we're headed
outside
towards.
in the open daylight, just sort of a little circular camp. Same as
Look
we'd
through
set
that.
up.
We look through their packs.
Said there were papers about?
Yeah, just general sort of research papers similar to what you may have seen from the Orville character. Just like tables with plans and stuff, being that they are there to research the lake. This seems to be where they had set up.
I suppose I will continue heading towards this tunnel just to ensure that there's nothing new.
Okay. You head towards the tunnel. It's kind of just a door. You can't really tell what it is. And as you approach, the leaning rock gives plenty of space for anyone who could want to go through it if they wanted. The doorway is dark, but it's open. There's not really a door there. But as you near it, you see that it's kind of a stairwell going down. and just deep off down the stairs, you see the faintest little glow.
There's some sort of light source at the bottom of these steps. Should we go check it out?
I think we should check out these papers first and see. This is the people we've been looking for. I do that.
Okay. Sure. So you pick up, the papers are pretty scrambled, just like not out of, chaos, but just they've been working. There's been work to be done on these papers, and there's a lot of signs through the writings of frustration, fruitless waiting, looking for creatures, not seeing anything, signs of mistrust between the party. This guy starting to get on my nerves. We should never have been sent out here. Stuff like that. There's not a lot of good, solid information. Nowhere near as good as the information that Orville, the beast researcher, had.
Any names?
No names, except you do see a photograph in one of the journals of the horned bovine character you saw. That is Zosa, a photograph of her in one of the journals.
Show it to everybody. Hey guys, look! I think we found her husband.
Her husband's a book.
Well, look at the photo. Right here. Look at the photo.
Oh, you found his things. I understand.
Yeah.
You get the idea from the writings that probably Orville was the actual researcher, and these guys were probably there to protect him. So they haven't achieved a whole lot.
Doesn't help when he runs away.
They continued on without him.
They tried.
Weird. That's really weird.
So yeah, there's not a whole lot of information in the papers, but a lot of it is just like theorizing and route planning.
Well, I guess we know where our missing people are. Do we want to go through their stuff or just leave it here for later?
Perhaps we should see if they're still alive.
They are still alive. Maybe we should check out down there. I mean, they could be in trouble.
So, speaking of down there, is it dark until you see that small light source?
Yeah, it's dark. It's like a windy staircase. You can't really see past the bend.
I can use some magic to help us lead the way.
Sounds good to me.
Oh.
Do we have Emmy sound?
We have sound?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Oh.
we can. Got her.
Very quiet.
Yeah, Emmy, your volume's gone down.
Why?
I don't know.
Wouldn't know how to fix it either.
Oh, no, it sounds fine.
No, I mean, it's okay.
Okay.
Okay, so what kind of magics does Tink have?
Well, let's start with some light.
And then I'm going to cast Dancing Lights. And then it allows me to create up to 4 torch-sized lights within range. They can appear as torches, lanterns, or glowing orbs. I'll do some more orbs.
In the open or down the stairs?
Down the stairs. So, like, as we go down, we can follow the trail of light.
Okay. How would you like to begin heading in? Just run in with swords drawn, or do you want to creep down? Or
Suppose I should have asked that before I just, lit the orbs.
Yeah, they kind of give us away. Not really creeping now.
It's late now. Let's go.
Okay, so you begin down the stairs. They're rather long. In addition to the faint glow as you get lower and lower down the stairs, you begin to hear sort of chanting in a language that is foreign to everybody. It's just
I'm
sort of
gonna cut the lights out.
it's just sort of low kind of, but it's just like one male voice. And you're still just going down the stairs, so you haven't really, there's not much more else to see so far.
Yeah, so I mean, to be clear, I put out the orbs.
Yeah, by this point, they're not really much needed anymore. The glow from
it's
the
clearly
stairs
coming from the source.
is getting brighter and brighter.
Okay.
Should the stealthy creep forward, Mira?
Now her mic is cut out.
Yeah, we lost her.
What?
No, okay, now
It drops out for a moment and then it comes back. I
don't understand why. I don't
Okay.
really have like a mic either. It's literally just my computer. I'm talking to my computer. So
what was the response to the stealthy ones going forth?
I can try.
Okay. So what kind of order would everyone like to go in?
I imagine
I'm
going first.
Oh, I'll go after.
Okay.
And I apologize. We're attempting to be stealthy going down the stairs, right?
They are. I think we're just kind of...
Okay.
Maybe hang back just a little.
Sure, yeah.
Sure. Do that.
What do you got?
I'm gonna move my blessings of the trickster back to myself.
Okay.
We'll let them kind of round any bend in front of us to kind of get a peek before we go in guns a-blazing.
I got 23.
Two.
You both got 23?
We both got 23.
Oh, yay!
Hooray.
Okay.
You're so stealthy.
Stealthiest.
So, two of you creep forward down the stairs. And it's kind of a lot more of the same, with just the orange light getting a bit brighter as you go. The first change you see in the stairs is above you, actually. You hadn't noticed, but the ceilings have kind of become higher and higher as you've been going down. And you notice you kind of stop and you see this big wooden kind of plank hanging. It's the full width of the stairwell. And you can see that it's sort of rigged up to some ropes to fall.
Is it a trap of some kind?
It seems to be some kind of a hanging wall that may be intended to keep you in or something.
Can I see where it connects to?
Make a perception check.
And
It sort of just feeds forth into the windiness of the stairs. You can't really see where it connects to.
look at Mira.
I just shrug.
And can we see the person guy thing?
Nope, you can just hear it, and you see a curved wall of stairs going for same as kind of you've been seeing for the past minute or so. But you can hear, and you can see the light coming from what seems like you're getting close to the voice.
Are they the only ones that can see the door thing or whatever would drop down?
Yeah, it's a bit beyond the where they left off from us. What's it gonna be, guys? Don't let
Mira.
me bust out the timer.
I'm gonna whisper to Mira. we want to go forward and try to look at the guy, or go back to get everyone else?
We got nothing.
Eh,
Oh wait, now we got something.
why?
I think you need to say like a primer sentence. Say like,
Yes.
supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
That was my first word.
Mm.
I said, I don't know. I don't like the idea of just the two of us being caught off our guard.
The other ones are large and loud.
I know. But really, what would the element of surprise do for us?
Oh, I guess we'll go get them.
I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
Alright.
We go back.
Okay. The three boys are waiting there like, what did she say? Does she like me?
Oh no!
No, they're waiting there. And they're like, what is it?
It's down
It's enough. We figured it was better to come back and approach with all of us than to get cut off from the group.
Sounds good to me. I don't like the sound of whatever's going on down there.
Anyone's good at traps and they want to try to take a look at that thing,
That would be a
we
better
get there.
idea.
Could I do like a tinkering check on it or something?
Yeah, you could try. It's pretty high up. I mean, it's high above, so
Does it look heavy when we get down there as we approach it?
yeah, the group will approach the same zone that Ansys and Morella reached to get a look at the trap. It doesn't look too heavy. Not like it's meant to crush people.
Is it wood?
Yep, it's like thick wood. Like a thick, big slab of wood.
It's in our way. I can do something about it until that point.
Yes.
Calm says, if it starts to drop down, bet you I can grab it and hold enough time in case we need to run.
Well, if we can figure out how it works and it does drop down, we might be able to hoist it back up or reset it or something. Now we
That's
should
true.
keep going.
All right. Towards the creepy noises.
We want to try and be quiet.
I think so.
Try.
We can try.
Yeah, let's try.
Let's try. Alright.
God damn it.
12.
I got a
1.
7. Ooh, natural 1.
20.
I got a 21.
Oh,
21.
I was like, not again.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Be still in my heart.
The last treacherous approach that was made by the party, I think, had 2 natural ones on the stealth check to approach. Right? It
Something like that.
was bad.
I don't know. I
Um,
know someone got shot.
Okay. So, you slowly move past this hanging plank. Who's in the front?
Probably me.
I am in the back.
Kelm will go in
Right.
the front. If
I was
we
going to
want.
be right after Mira.
Try to catch it if it goes.
Okay.
He goes under, sort of pressing his talons against the stone, seeing if there's any like pressure plates as he does, and it seems to be holding steady. undisturbed totally.
I look ahead and see if there are any more traps ahead that we need to look out for.
No traps except for high above the continued sort of pulley system of this initial wood slab thing that sort of continues down. As you pass the stretch of the stairs with the hanging trap, you finally get to a break in the bottom of the stairs where you do see the opening and the chanting becomes rather clear. So you're kind of all piled up towards the bottom, kind of looking into the space. And you see sort of a long sort of temple kind of stretch, and far to the back, sort of like 2 or 3 stairs up, there's like a long platform and just what looks like, it's hard to tell because it's at the very back. So like you've gotten to the end of the stairs and there's sort of a long expanse ahead of you. But there is sort of like a big thing of flames at the very back. It almost looks like it's like a grate with flames underneath it. And above the grate are hanging bodies. You see 2 Triton, 1 human, female, and 1 large Minotaur, and they're being suspended above this grate and these flames, and they look pretty lifeless. It's hard to tell, but it looks almost like they are being cooked.
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
Does it smell bad? Is there like a nasty smell?
Yeah. It smells like burnt hair.
Ew.
Charming.
In the chanting, you see standing nearby these sort of long flaming grate is a man in a big black sort of leather robe with like black hair sort of falling over his face. It's like sweaty and stringy, and he's sort of chanting, just sort of, you can't really tell. He's standing next to a table that has all of these just horrifying instruments on it. And whatever he'd used to string up these guys. And the chanting continues. What'll you do?
Can I see how the people are suspended?
Do you have dark vision?
Oh no, I don't.
You can try.
I
It'll
do.
be harder for you though.
Can I help her? Can I look too?
Yeah, you can look too.
Is it just disadvantage on perception?
No, I'm just raising the DC for you. So
Okay.
just roll and roll.
11.
It's hard to tell for you.
I got an 18.
They're chained to the walls. So from the ceiling and to the walls, they're sort of fastened and hung there at a fair distance from the flames that are sort of rising up and licking their feet.
Oh, God. Does the person, whoever, do they seem to notice that we're seeing them?
He has his back to you, and he's sort of chanting continually. Doesn't seem to notice you.
Like he's clearly in a trance of some sort of ritual.
But you do notice his arms start to move. He says, I know you all like your meat cooked, but it appears there are some live dinner for you as well. And he sort of reaches out towards one of the bodies, and you kind of notice that what has run across the ceiling is that rope and that pulley And where that rope comes down and is tied is right next to him. And he goes, and he cuts the rope, and you feel it go, and then behind you in the stairwell.
Can I start casting?
That's where we're gonna leave it.
No.
Oh.